How about the word of Kenneth Walker, running back out of Michigan State? 5'9", 211 pounds. Still young enough. He'll be 21 in 10 months when the season kicks off. Ran a 4.38 40 at the 40.
At the 40 at the
40. At the combine.
40 at the 40.
40 at the 40.
Edward 40 hands. Had a 34-inch vertical, 122-inch broad jump.
I'll meet you at the 9th hole at 9.
There you go.
He had 263 carries for 1,636 yards. That's the most in college football. 18 touchdowns. Played 2 years at Wake Forest in a committee before opting out at the end of 2020 due to COVID. And then he transferred over to Michigan State, where he broke out and was a Heisman finalist, 6th place in the Heisman. And he was a Doak Award winner. You know what that award goes to?
Best running back in the country.
Gary, what award is that?
Best running back in the country.
The second best or the best?
What do you think, Rich? The second best or the best running back in the country?
I'm reading here it says Doak Award goes to the best running back.
Oh, so he's better than Breece Hall?
No. But in college
okay.
football,
I was just making sure we're clear on that.
I'm being very clear. Call me LASIK. So, pros. Let's talk about his pros. This guy led FBS with 89 forced missed tackles. So he's going to force you to miss him, right? Like, it's like, hey, he's a heartbreaker. Like, here I am. Now I'm gone. You missed me. Sorry. 89 times. 276 touches in 2021 and only had one fumble. So he's secure. Like, he's not going to drop you. You can give him your baby. And you can feel very, very good about it. Great at getting to the outside edge and good burst. Makes one cut and goes quickly. Can cut on a dime. Contact balance is above average. Great visions and patience behind the line. One of my favorite plays I saw him run, I don't think it was a Penn State game. It's like where the pulling guard pulled out to the right side. He just followed him slowly over there and boom, bursted up the sideline. 25-yard run. You see a lot of those. 25-yard runs. Love his feet in tight spaces and good agility. Really good lateral movement. Can push the pile too, which was a pleasant surprise the way he could push the pile. His yards after contact is solid. PFF had him as a number 1 running back in yards after contact. He's also good in pass protection. Now, I know Garrett wants to know, what's the cons, Rich? What are the cons about Kenneth Walker III? Well,
he's my running back too, for clarity.
Calm down, evil significant. He wasn't involved in the passing. I don't know what that second word is. I just made it up.
Okay.
He wasn't involved in the passing game, but he showed he can catch at the combine.
Yeah.
He only had 13 catches, 89 yards, 1 touch. He's only involved. He only had 5% of the target share, so he wasn't really loved there. Sometimes wanted to be a little too heroic, where he'll find that he wants to find that bigger opportunity when he should just take those couple yards that are given to him of the yards that are there. But for me, this guy is a dynasty prospect with running back 1 upside. I love everything about Kenneth Walker's game. I love his vision. I love his speed. That's why when he ran that 40, it's not too shocking with that 4.38, how quickly he was able to get to the outside edge there. And his patience behind the line was so good. It constantly showed where it led to those big yard gains. Honestly, when I watch his game, why I have him in a tier behind Breece Hall by himself is the big thing here is I think Breece Hall is elite. I think he's one of the most elite backs we've seen, honestly, over the 8 years of doing this podcast. I think I put him in that category of the Zeke Elliott's, the Saquon Barkley's, that category. That's where I think of Breece Hall. I think he's that good. So Kenneth Walker being a tier by himself alone, I would put him probably last year right in that mix of right around Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne in that tier there. So
okay.
I think he's that good. I think he's going to get drafted to a really good situation. I think he's going to be drafted as a number 1 running back. So I think he offers a lot of potential here when it comes to fantasy football points. Because remember, when we scout these players, we're not scouting them for NFL teams. We're scouting them on dynasty production. What is their dynasty outlook? And for me, this is running back 1 potential. The key is, can he be involved in the passing game? That's going to be the biggest question for him. But Garrett, you always say, it's the haves and the have-nots, right? So to me, I saw enough at the combine and just enough when he was involved that he can. Just how I was questioning about Jonathan Taylor. Then all of a sudden he leads all rookies in receiving, or all those Wisconsin running backs. And he just wasn't involved in that aspect of the game at Michigan State.
No,
so,
I would agree. It was more of they just didn't use him in that capacity, not that he can't do it. So I agree with that.
So what do you, what is it where, and we'll let Matt be the tiebreaker here afterwards. So I understand you have him as your running back too.
I do. Him and Spiller are very close, but I do have him as my RB2.
See, and the difference between you and I is you're okay, he's not that much different than other guys that are behind him. When
Correct.
I think it's a clear cut difference between him and Isaiah Spiller.
Right.
Isaiah Spiller's nice. His vision's nice. His cutting ability there to see the lanes is nice, but I don't envision him moving a pile like Kenneth Walker can move the pile. I don't see his speed as good as Kenneth Walker to the outside edge.
I think right before that was one of the things that we differ on. I don't think his physicality and power is very good at all. I think he's a little bit of an undersized back. He's not going to physically break a lot of tackles. He's going to do it with his elusiveness because he's incredible in that category, but he's not going to run through players. So I actually have him as a slightly, 6 is average. Have him at a 5.5 for power.
So I saw something similar to you. I don't think that's where he wants. I don't think he wants to run through a guy.
Right.
I think he can. I think he's capable of getting low and doing it. But he's a guy that wants to get to the edge. He wants to get around.
Yep.
He wants to get around a defender rather than going through them. And he's good at it. He's good. He can make people miss in the open field, and he can outrun guys to the perimeter. So I don't think he needs to necessarily have a big time power aspect to his game. But if the occasion arises when it's a defensive back, that's the only person he's going to lower his shoulder on. He's not going to be doing that to a linebacker or anything like that. But if the occasion arises for him to lower his shoulder on a defensive back to get to the end zone or something like that, he can do it. I mean, he's physical enough at 5'9", 211 pounds to do it. And he certainly can play low enough to the ground, I think, to win that kind of battle.
And he showed that at the goal line when he would get the goal line carries and he would actually push the pile through the goal line.
So I have him a little bit lower on power. The other thing that I think is overblown in his game, I don't think his vision at the line is nearly as good as everyone's saying. I think he has very good vision at the next level. But great example, Michigan game. Michigan game was kind of like his like poster game where he had the 5 touchdowns and everybody's like going nuts. 2 of those touchdowns were really good touchdowns. The other 3 really weren't anything special. One was a completely broken play where the defense like wasn't even on the field. Half of them were on like the opposite side of the field. One was literally Kenneth Walker ran into the back of his offensive lineman, and it just so happened that nobody caught him back there, and then he kind of bounced it out and scored a touchdown. But I think that's the thing that I saw with him. There were a lot of times where I saw him specifically in some of the zone plays where I think he missed the hole or he would hit it late. And so because he has good patience, I actually have him a very high patience score, but I think sometimes he would almost have a little bit too much patience where I would want him to be a little bit aggressive. He missed those. His patience and his vision didn't time up beautifully like Breece Hall's did. And so that's where I have a little bit of a knock on him was the vision and the power. And then, I have a low grade for pass pro. Everything else is pretty significant. And actually, he has far and away the highest score in elusiveness in the class. I gave him a 9.5 out of 10, which is special.
Yeah, he is very good. And the pass pro was a thing that I just didn't see much of it.
He just wasn't used a lot.
He was hard. It was hard to grade in that aspect. So the passing chops, I guess, as far as how he's going to translate to the NFL, as far as a guy that's on the field on third down, it's going to be a projection because he didn't catch a lot of passes and he didn't pass protect a lot. So it's something, if he didn't do it a lot, was he just not good at it, or was it just not part of their offense? It's hard to tell. So it's going to be a complete guessing game as far as how much value he's going to hold in PPR. So it is going to kind of depend on where he lands and what kind of usage they've had in the past with their running backs to kind of figure out exactly where he lands as far as a PPR value, I think, going forward.
Yeah, and I'm guessing the difference, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, the difference, because we both have him RB2, so there's really technically no difference between us there, but I'm guessing the difference is going to come where I have a few receivers that I would take ahead of him in a 1 QB league. After Breece Hall, I have probably 2 to 3 receivers that I'll take before I would be willing to take Kenneth Walker. Sounds like Kenneth Walker is probably your 1-2.
That's the difference. I have him as 1-2. I would take him there just because I feel more comfortable getting a receiver a little bit later. Anytime I get an opportunity that I see a running back that has the potential to be a running back 1, where I like him enough where I think, okay, this guy has running back 1 potential, then he'd leapfrog some of those receivers for me. Because then I'm just as good. If I take him at 1-2, I'm still in a good chance to either trade up or get a guy like, Jahan Dotson, a guy with upside like Christian Watson there at the end. Obviously, they're not Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks, Drake London, but those guys comes with not Garrett Wilson. Those guys come with some question marks as well. So to me, I'd rather get the running back. And again, if he pans out even remotely to like an Antonio Gibson per se, right? Like I can get any receiver I want at that point. Running backs always put you in position to get the proving guy, right? And that return is instant. So like after year 1, even if I have enough running backs and I'm somewhat questionable about these receivers, or I want it for sure thing, if Kenneth Walker pans out, I can flip Kenneth Walker for DJ Moore. You know what I mean? I can flip him for Deontay Johnson. Like I can get the receiver that I want that's still young enough because there's more of them.
Right, so, absolutely.
And that's the difference. So, Matt, what do you feel about Kenneth Walker? Do you think he has running back 1 potential? Or is he more like, where do you feel like if he's at in your dynasty, like rookie talk so far? Just give us your breakdown.
No, obviously, I have him as my running back too as well, and he is similarly. He's in kind of a tier by himself there. It's Breece Hall, it's him, and then it's kind of 4 or 5 other guys. So I do think he offers he's one of the few guys that offers this can be a 3-down guy as long as
the third down stuff works out, which
third down stuff works out. So that's kind of how I view him. I think he's a high upside guy. I think he could be a running back 1 if he's used in any capacity in the PPR game. Because like you said, what we've seen out of him catching passes, I think he can do it. He's fine at, pass fail. He passes that anyway. So it is going to depend on, I think, where he lands and what kind of offense he's in, whether or not he realizes that running back 1 status. But other than that, I mean, I think, you nailed it with all the analysis as far as lateral agility and all that kind of stuff. I talked about the speed of the outside. I think that's kind of how he wants to win. So that is what he is in a nutshell. And 5'11", 211, or 5'9", 211 pounds it's a very solid weight. It's a nicely put together running back. So I think he could definitely hold up to the NFL rigors anyway.
And you have him in clear tier 2 here.
Yep.
I know we haven't got to the receivers yet. Do you feel comfortable with him at 1-2, or are you with Garrett like he's more around that 1-3, 1-4 range?
No, there's probably a couple of wide receivers that'll jump above him.
Okay.
Just because the aspect, as of right now anyway, just because I don't know the PPR aspect until landing spot happens for him.
And let me say this too. Let me backtrack that just a little bit too. It depends on the state of my team as well.
Right.
If I have 1-2 and I'm in full rebuild mode, like my team's depleted, I'm taking the receiver.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like I'm taking Garrett Wilson, I'm taking Treylon Burks. I will see what happens with Drake London here too. I haven't dove into his tape enough as I wanted to, but I'm taking.
He forgot to say Jameson Williams.
I did.
He has kind of become the forgotten guy of like the big 4.
Torn ACL.
Yeah.
It helps.
But could screen some value though.
So, I mean, it depends on the state of my team, or unless Kenneth Walker does land in a really good spot where he's the clear number 1, then I would take him at 2. Going back to okay, if I'm in full rebuild, now I could flip him for probably a 23 first and a receiver that I want with some upside. Maybe not like a Deontay Johnson, but if he hits in the right team, you can always get more for those running backs, always, because the receivers are going to take a little bit, unless they jump out like a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, which those are outliers. It's not a common theme. You can always get more instantaneously for the running back. So if I'm in rebuild mode and I'm looking forward to the 23 class, which we all are, and I want to recoup a draft pick there, and relatively a high pick, it's going to be Kenneth Walker gives me the highest upside to do that. So that's where my strategy lies with a guy like Kenneth Walker. Again, if he ends up after a draft and he goes to somewhere that he's not the clear 1-1 and he's going to be splitting time, like he's like a Zach Moss and Devin Singletary kind of situation, and I'm like, oh, well, now maybe I am going to like switch courses a little bit here.
Sure.
I'm in a draft where I have 1-2 and 1-5. I'm taking Kenneth Walker because now I'm really comfortable getting either Drake London, Jameson Williams, one of those 3 receivers. Yeah. So, Jared, is there anything we missed here on Kenneth Walker that you want to chime in on?
From a prospect, like how he plays standpoint, I think you guys hit on everything. He's my RB2 as well. He sits in a tier by himself at tier 2, kind of like what Rich said. I think from taking him 1-2 over receivers, I want to wait till the draft comes around, landing spot, and see what happens there. But I think he has a 3-down skill set. In the tape, when you see him catch passes, he looks fluent. And just like you said, at the combine, he looks fluent. I think he can do it. It's like a check fail type thing, pass fail. He passes for me. So,
Jared, and this is your opportunity to brag. You're the first person I ever heard talk about Kenneth Walker, like ever.
Yeah.
Back when he was playing at Wake Forest.
I know we've exhausted that a little bit on the podcast. I wasn't going to say anything.
No. This is your opportunity to brag. This gets cut up separate for you two. There's all kinds of extra eyes on this. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when we were watching the Sage Surratt film, he really popped for me.
Sage Surratt.
Yeah, and we didn't like
people
him.
mocked him as a first round receiver.
I was like, who's this running back that's like way too patient behind the line of scrimmage? But no, he's super patient running back. I actually think his vision's a little better than what you stated there, Garrett.
I like him. I love it at the second level.
I think he's great in the scrum.
I think he processes a little too slow at the line.
See, I disagree with you there, but
that's all right.
Yeah, I like Kenneth Walker. He's just outside of our top 10 in the combined nerd score. He's an RB11, combining 2020, 2021, and 2022. One thing I did want to say is like his intangibles or what they say they are. Like he's an absolute gym rat. Like he is a weight room.
I could see
he's
that.
always in the weight room.
Shows. I mean,
yeah, he's a chiseled dude. So he clearly puts in the work, and he was not a highly recruited guy out of high school. He only had like 2 D1 offers, I think. So he clearly put the work in to get where he is and where he's at today, and it shows.
It does show. I mean, the fact that he transferred for a bigger opportunity to go to Michigan State, and then when he does get the opportunity, he shines at the highest level.
Absolutely.
And that says a lot about work ethic and where this guy can go. So that's
Absolutely.
all encompassing. It's why I'm such a huge fan of his. Pleasantly surprised too, because I went into it just like everybody else, going, okay, it's Isaiah Spiller and Kenneth Walker after Breece Hall. And after watching his tape, I came away literally ecstatic, like about what I saw.